الله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد. Respected brothers and sisters, welcome to lesson number 9 of the Fiqh series here at Darul Ummah. Alhamdulillah, we have started the series with the intention to cover the 5 pillars of Islam and covering the rules and regulations of them. Today, inshallah, by continuing from our series, we're on page number 64 of Maraq al-Sa'adat, translated by Farazi Khan. And today, inshallah, we're on the chapter of wells, which is basically bi'r or abar, and it's relevant to us, or wells are relevant to fiqh, or the fiqh that we're studying, is because from wells we extract water sometimes to clean ourselves with. Now, obviously we've spoken about shahada and the belief and the aspects of belief, and then now we're speaking about how to purify ourselves, because then that's connected to salah, because salah is of course the second pillar of Islam, so shahada, salah. And in order to learn about salah, or to prepare for salah, we need to first know about how to purify ourselves, the wudu, the ghusl, the tayammum, and the rules of wiping over the socks, and we've done all of that over the past few lessons. And today, inshallah, wells or abar or bi'r is the subject, inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala. And these are the last few pages until we go into the actual salah itself, and the fara'id of salah, and the times of salah, and the awqat of salah, and the nawafil, and so on and so forth of salah itself. So he says on page number 64, wells, a small well of water is rendered impure if filth falls into it. A small well of water. So you can have a small well, or you can have a large well. Okay, you can have a well is basically like a hole in the middle of the ground, and inside it, deep inside, there's usually water, and it's one of the sources of water in many countries, especially desert or dry lands. A small well of water is rendered impure if filth falls into it, such as urine, blood, or chicken dropping, even if a small amount without any trace of it appearing in the water. So if it's a small well, if it's a big well, it's a different ruling. But if it's a small well, then if a small amount of filth, urine, or chicken dropping, or blood falls into it, then that well is going to be considered impure, and therefore you can't use the water of that to purify yourself, to do your wudu or to do your ghusl. The same ruling applies for a large amount of dung of camels. So camel dung, camel's excrement, if a large amount of it falls inside that well, is also going to be considered impure. Donkeys or cattle, as in cows, as opposed to a small amount which is excused. So now when it comes to normal urine, or a human being's urine, or chicken droppings or blood, then even if it's small amount, then it's impure. Whereas if it's a large amount of camel dung, donkey or cattle, then it's a larger amount is excused, because that's normal. It can happen, where a small amount of cow dung can be found inside a well because of when they drink from it, or when you clean yourself from it, and so on and so forth. So a larger amount is excused, namely that which is not considered large by the one who sees it in the well. The following things also do not render the well impure. So now he's talking about the things that even if you were to find inside a well, it would not be considered impure. So you can still drink from that water, you can still do wudu with that water, you can still do ghusl with that water. Pigeon or sparrow dropping. So if a pigeon flying over drops its excrement or its dung into the well, then that's not going to be considered impure. Same thing with sparrow. Dead creatures that have no blood in them, such as a large mosquito, flies, wasps, or scorpions. So if these things are inside the well, so if it's a pigeon dropping or a dead mosquito, these are small things, therefore they do not render that water impure. Dead sea creatures, so you have certain creatures that live inside the water, like fish and other things. If these things are found to be inside the well, then that's fine, because it's a part of the water, or they're bound to be in the water, and they do not render the water impure. A creature that falls in the well yet comes out alive, as long as there was no filth on its body, including humans. So now imagine you went inside the well and you came out, then that well is still pure, as long as you don't go inside with any filth and left it inside there. Camels, cattle, donkeys, predatory birds, and predatory land animals. So if any of these things go inside the well but come out again, then that water is still pure. You can still use it as long as they do not leave any dirt from their body in that water. Moving on, if an animal dies in a well, if an animal dies inside a well, then there are 3 categories. As in, there are 3 different sizes which we look at in the animal, with regards to the legal ruling of how much water to remove based on the creature's size, namely. So a small animal, small like a mouse, in which case it is mandatory wajib to remove 20 buckets. So basically, we're going to go through this really quickly because it's part of the course, because you might be thinking, well, I'm using tap water, but then there's also a part of the legal system, because imagine you are in an area where there isn't any tap water, then you need to know this information, and therefore we're going to take it very fast and then move on to the more important stuff and spend a bit more time on it, inshallah. So if an animal dies inside the water, okay, depending on what size the animal is, a different amount of water needs to be taken out for that well to become pure again. So if it's a small animal like a mouse, then you need to take out at least 20 buckets of water for that well to be pure again. Okay? If it's a medium-sized animal like a pigeon size, then at least 40 buckets of water needs to be taken out until it becomes pure. If it's a large animal like a sheep or something bigger, then the entire well needs to be dried out and then let the water gather again for it to be pure. Now, if it's not possible to take the whole water of the entire well out, then we need to take out at least 200 buckets, he's saying here. Moving on. If the saliva of the animal touches the water, then all the water must be removed if the saliva was impure or doubtful. So for example, if it was dog's saliva. So just like when we said at the beginning that if filth falls into, even if it's urine or chicken dropping, here is saying if the saliva touches the water of a dog or saliva of something that's impure, considered to be impure or doubtful, then we need to take out all of the water and let it to fill up again. If it was pure yet disliked, then merely recommended mustahab to remove the water. So if it's not impure, say for example, like the saliva of a cat. Cats are supposed to be pure, because min at-tawafina alaykum at-tawafat. So basically, because it's a home creature, the Prophet ﷺ deemed it to be pure. And so if a cat was to lick the water inside a bucket or a well, then it would be mustahab or liked for you to renew that water or change that water. As for, do you have to do it? No, you don't, because its saliva is not considered to be impure. Because if a cat licks you, you don't have to necessarily wash that part 7 times. Whereas if it's a dog or a pig and something, the rulings are a bit different. Now we're coming to types of saliva, because we just spoke about saliva, if saliva touches the water. And again, these are just topics or stuff to talk about before we get into the actual salah itself, because it's about purifying yourself before the salah. Saliva is of 4 types with regard to the ruling of water that is mixed with it. So not the saliva itself. Saliva is of 4 types depending on what happens when it's mixed with the water. The water that you might be using for cleaning yourself, the saliva is of 4 types depending on what happens to the water when it's mixed with that. So the first type of saliva or remaining water, or water that's remaining after another animal or a human being drinking from it, the first type is pure and purifying and not disliked, this type of water, to use for purification or to drink. This is the saliva of human beings whose mouth was clean. If a human being drinks from water, then you are allowed to drink from that water and also to do wudu with that water. It's pure, as in you can use it for your own nourishment, and purifying, meaning you can purify yourself with it. You can purify something else with it. You can wash your clothes with it. You can do wudu or ghusl with it. So if it's a remaining amount of water from the drinking of a human being, or the saliva of a human being, if it touches water, then that's not considered to be impure at all, as long as his mouth was clean. If his mouth had something impure inside and it mixed with that water, like alcohol or something else of that impurity, then that is going to consider or render that water impure. Same ruling is for Muslim and for non-Muslims. If it's a human being, even if it's a non-Muslim that drinks from the glass or from the bucket, it's still pure. Because human beings are generally, according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mukarram. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah has honored human beings, and as long as there wasn't anything impure in your mouth, the remnants or what remains from your drinking or from your using is considered to be pure. The saliva of horses, animals whose meat is permissible to eat, so cows or horses. Horse is an exception, but generally if it's a cow or sheep, okay, or these kind of animals, then the remaining water that remains from their drinking, you can purify with it and you can also drink it yourself. Impure. So first one is completely pure. It's pure and you can purify with. The second type is completely impure. You can't drink, nor can you use it for purifying something else. This water may not be used for purification in any case, nor may it be drunk except by one in dire need. This is the same ruling for anything that's impure. When you're in dire need, when you're about to die of thirst or hunger, haram becomes halal. So if you're in a desert and you have no other fluid except for alcohol, then you're allowed to drink enough amount until your thirst has gone away that you will live on. You can't just start enjoying it. Same thing with meat. If you have no other meat or no other food apart from pork or haramly slaughtered meat, then you're only allowed to eat the amount that would make your body survive. You can't enjoy the meal and start going on a bit extravagantly. So impure water, this cannot be used for drinking or for purification in any case. Only for drinking is allowed if you're in dire need of it. And in that case, you're allowed to only drink the amount that will fulfill your thirst. Just as he may, so this water may not be used for purification in any case, nor may it be drunk except by one in dire need. Just as he may eat meat of an animal not ritually or halal slaughtered. This category includes the saliva of dogs, pigs, the predatory land animals such as lions, wolves, hyenas, apes, and the like. So what we're talking about is, if any of these animals, dangerous animals, or pigs and dogs, they were to drink from a bucket, then that water is rendered impure for cleaning and for drinking. Unless you're in dire need, you can drink from it. Clear, inshallah? Third type is disliked. So we spoke about first type of saliva or remaining water is the one that's pure and purifying. Second type, impure completely. We just spoke about that now. Third type is disliked. So you should try and avoid it, but if you were to use it, you wouldn't be sinful. Or you might, even if it's a sin, then it's not a major sin. Disliked. If other pure water is available. This includes the saliva of house cats, released chickens, as in chickens that go run around in the forest. Predatory birds such as hawks or falcons, and creatures that roam around houses like mice and snakes. If no other water is available, it is disliked to use. If no other water is available, it is not disliked to use this water for purification. So this type of water is only disliked if you have another source of water. If you don't have any other source of water, then it's fine. And the last type is the saliva which is doubtful. So we had completely pure, completely impure, and then we had disliked, it's better to avoid, and now we have doubtful water. We're not sure whether it's pure or not pure. Okay? Saliva in which there is doubt regarding the purifying nature of it. This is the saliva of mules and donkeys. And there's a huge ikhtilaf and all discussion about, according to ahadith that come and speak about this particular mas'ala. If no other water is available, one makes wudu with this water, followed by tayammum as well, and then prays. So now why do you have to make wudu and tayammum? It's quite interesting here, because we're saying that this water is doubtful. We don't know if it's definitely pure or not pure, and this is the remaining of mules and donkeys. Why do you need to make wudu if you're not sure? Well, we need to make wudu because we're not sure. Because as long as there is water, you're supposed to use, you can't resort to tayammum as long as there is water. We have water here. It's remaining from a mule or a donkey. So therefore we need to try and make that wudu. Now we're not sure if that water was clean, therefore make tayammum as well. Long story short, let's move on, inshallah. Don't want to confuse too much, inshallah. But generally these are things that we need to know, or good to know when it comes to wudu and purifying yourself, especially when you're out there in the open. Now we're coming to cleaning after relieving oneself, istinjaa, and this is relevant to everybody inshallah. So this is about purifying yourself from the bathroom. After urination, a man must ensure that no drops of urine remain in the urethra, as in the private part. So now before you start washing yourself, your private part, you need to first make sure that the drops have completely stopped. This is called istibra, as in making sure that the drops have completely stopped. This is the first part of it. Until no trace of wetness even appears at the tip of the organ, since its appearance there prevents the validity of wudu. So I can't say there's a drop coming and I'm not sure and I'm going to start doing wudu. We have to make sure it's completely clean and then start doing wudu. If the filth exits the body, does not move beyond the exit hole itself, then it is sunnah to clean the area by using a stone that removes the filth or the like. Now, if it's just at the tip of the private part, then it is sunnah to just wipe it away. Just wipe it away by using, traditionally they used to use like mud stones. In Bangladesh we call it kuluflua or deli. Or you can use tissue paper nowadays. If you're out in the open, you can use a dry piece of soil to clean yourself with that, because it usually absorbs whatever there is. So it's sunnah to clean yourself with that by using a stone that removes the filth or the like. One should wipe forwards and backwards until the area is clean. It is ideal to wash the area afterwards too. So it's sunnah for you to wipe it at least, but if you want to add it with washing and making sure it's 100% pure, then that's also mustahab and it's ideal. It's good for you to do so. You'll be rewarded inshallah ta'ala. Moreover, one should continue washing until the bad smell is gone. That's also important. So one is the impurity is gone, and also try to wash more so the smell is also gone. That's also good. Finally, it is not permissible to expose one's nakedness to others, even to perform istinjaa. This is common sense, mostly, but some people might think I'm doing something sunnah. Why should there be any shyness to it? You should still cover yourself, you should still be in a private area. If the filth moves beyond the exit hole, yet the amount that moved is less than what is excused. What's the amount that's excused for urine? Can you remember? We covered it before. It says on 177 here, on footnote 177, it says, that is the surface area of the inner concave circle of the palm. As in, the urine has left the area, the organ, or the center, or the tip of the organ, as long as it's less than the center of your palm, or a 50p coin we've said, or a dirham, okay? If the filth moves beyond the exit hole, yet the amount that moved is less than what is excused, the prayer performed with it is still valid. Imagine some has come out and it's on your clothes. Khalas. Now I prayed in those clothes. Is my salah still valid even though I have that much on my clothes? We've said before that if it's urine, as long as it's less than a 50p amount, that's forgiven. We've also said if it sprinkles from while you're urinating, just small sprinkles like little dots, like needle size. Those sprinkles, even if they are many, they're also excused because that's hard to avoid. The prayer performed with it is still valid. If, however, the amount is more than what is excused, as in the 50p amount, it is obligatory fard to remove it with water or a liquid that removes, just as it is obligatory fard to perform the ghusl if one is in the state of major ritual impurity. Meaning, if it's more than 50p amount, you need to make sure you wash it and repeat your prayer as well. If it's less than 50p amount, it's forgiven, inshallah ta'ala. It is disliked to clean oneself istinjaa with a bone. You can't clean yourself with a bone, okay? And there's reasoning behind it as well, but generally we shouldn't clean ourselves with a bone. Dried dung. So dried dung might seem to be a good idea out in the open because it seems quite clean and dry, but it's not allowed. Food, you can't use bread or anything like it to cleanse yourself, or anything of value like silk or cotton. You might say to me, well, tissue is of value. We buy it with money. But tissue is allowed because it's created solely for that purpose. It's a cheap price designated for cleaning yourself, and therefore tissue paper is fine for you to use it for cleaning oneself. That also means that you shouldn't go extravagant and buy very expensive tissues. I don't know if there are very expensive tissues out there, but if there are, enough tissue that's required for you to cleanse yourself or clean yourself is enough. It is also disliked to use one's right hand for cleaning oneself. You should use your left hand. Right hand is for eating and for other good things. For handshaking someone else and so on and so forth. There are so many good things with the right hand. Left hand is what we're supposed to use for cleaning oneself after istinjaa or for istinjaa. One should enter the lavatory with the left foot. These are sunnahs of going to the toilet. With the left foot and seek refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beforehand. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal khaba'ith. You should read the dua before you go inside the bathroom. While relieving oneself, one should sit neither facing the Qibla nor with one's back towards it. This is where you can. If you go to a bathroom in a service station, we can't say, can you please change the toilet for me so I can nor face the Qibla nor back towards it. This is as far as you can, as possible. You should try and avoid facing the Qibla while doing your istinjaa and also facing your back towards the Qibla as well. Sideways, and that's why if you go to Muslim countries, you'll find that the bathrooms are usually facing sideways, not facing towards the Qibla or against it. This is something beautiful. But generally, if you can, you should try and do that. If you can't, no problem whatsoever, inshallah. Likewise, one should not face the sun or the moon. One should not speak without necessity. You're in the bathroom, you shouldn't be talking to people outside unless it's a necessity. Someone's turning the lights off and is about to leave and lock you in. I'm here. You're allowed to say that. You can't just say, I can't speak. After finishing, one should exit with right foot. Going inside left foot, coming out with right foot. And then say, praise be to Allah. Alhamdulillah. Alladhi adhaba anni al-adha wa afani. That's the dua of leaving. The meaning of it is, praise be to Allah who removed harm from my body and granted me well-being. And this is a very beautiful dua, because how many people have urine problems? Loads of people. Loads of people have to have a catheter, like a pipe, and it's just a common problem. And sometimes when you can't go to the bathroom, you see how much of a problem it is. So alhamdulillah, it's a big blessing that Allah has allowed you to eat and drink and then relieve yourself as well. So we say alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Wa alhamdulillah alladhi adhaba anni al-adha wa afani. After the servant purifies the garments, body and the prayer area, and commences the prayer salat or the like, accompanied with truly beneficial purification of the heart from the likes of rancor and hatred and from everything besides Allah, intending to carry out His divine command, bearing in mind the greatness of His majesty and honor, with full hope that He will basically he's saying to you, if after someone purifies himself properly and devotes or makes a good intention and a pure intention for worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then praise the salah itself or does the ibadah, then we can be hopeful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you Jannah in return. There's a hadith that says clearly that whomsoever or whichever servant of mine performs his wudu properly, with complete sincerity, and gives all of the rights of the wudu, and then prays 2 rakats of salah for my sake only, Allah is saying in the hadith, or Prophet is saying in the hadith, if whoever purifies himself, does his wudu, فَأَحْسَنَ الْوُضُوء, and does the wudu properly, and صَلَّى رَكَعَتَيْن, prays 2 raka'at, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive his previous sins. The importance of purifying yourself properly is huge. Okay, a lot of the times we might think, why can't I attain khushu' in my salah? A lot of the times to do with not purifying yourself properly. Prophet ﷺ is walking by a graveyard and he finds 2 graves and he can hear shouts and screams. No one else can hear it, he can hear it. And he says, those 2 people inside these 2 graves are being tortured, are being punished. And they're not being punished for a big, haram, major bad deed, like shirk or something. They're being punished, why? Because one of them never used to clean themselves after urination, and the other used to walk around with namima, as in causing disputes between people. So it's very important to purify yourself properly and to make sure that your body is clean all the time, and especially when it comes to salah, inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala. Now we're coming to ritual prayer salah. Prayer times. The first thing you need to know about salah is how to clean yourself for it, and we've just done that. Next is, inna salata kanat ala al-mu'minina kitaban mawquta. Every single salah has a set time. We need to know the prayer times. Yes, for me, it's just picking up the Darul Ummah £1 timetable and just looking at it, or going to the website and just going to the prayer timetable page, and alhamdulillah, everything is there highlighted in lovely green, yellow and blue colors. But for you to be in the open, where there is no timetable, then there's ways of knowing when the prayer times are. And Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ in the past, they used to use the moon and the sun as their timetable. And it's mentioned in the Quran that the sun and the moon are forms of your timing. And this is how you track yourself during the day. Okay, so he says, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِدُلُوكِ الشَّمْسِ. When he says establish prayer, the first thing he talks about is the sun. Establish the prayer with a set specific time, and that's in connection with the sun. So we know our day-to-day timing with the sun, and we know our month with the moon. The times of the prescribed prayers are 5. 5 salawat, we know that there are 5 salawat. The first one is called Fajr. The time of Fajr, Subh, is from the entrance of true dawn. And now you're going to come and understand, inshallah, in Ramadan, why do some people stop fasting at 1:30 and others at 2:30 or 3 o'clock? It happens, right? In some masajid you go and you find, people are finishing everything and suhoor is done. I'm talking about in London. But obviously in like Scotland or like Norway, they have their own reason, because the sun and the moon is different, the weather is different. But here in London, we have difference of opinions as well regarding this matter. So time of Fajr is from the entrance of true dawn until right before sunrise. 181 footnote says to you what true dawn is. True dawn refers to the horizontal white light. True dawn, as-subh as-sadiq, is the horizontal, means this way, sideways. white light that spreads across the horizon as opposed to false dawn. There's something called a subh al-kadhib as well, or false dawn. And false dawn, which is the vertical light that appears earlier and is followed by darkness, hence its name. Meaning, subh al-sadiq or fajr time starts from when there's a white light in the horizon. We can't see it because white light's everywhere. We're living in the city. But in the open, if you're in complete darkness, you can notice that. And therefore, if you're out in the open, that's what you use to know if fajr time has come in. And you can pray until just before the sun has actually come out. So before you can see the sun has just come out a little bit, even if it's quite bright, the fajr time is still there. And we have questions all the time. Akhi, why do you guys pray so late in your masjid? Why do you pray at the beginning of fajr time? And some people are doubtful, is the salah accepted? Well, what's the fact is that the fajr time is from subh al-sadiq, according to the hadith, is very, very clear, until before the sun actually comes out, even if it's a tiny amount. So alhamdulillah, in every masjid that pray fajr, you will find that they will be praying before that time, inshallah, before the sun actually comes out. You might be quite bright, and there are in fact a hadith that say to you, and now we're getting into problematic zones maybe, but there are a hadith that say to you, it is better for fajr to be prayed when there is a bit more light. Why? So that people that go to the masjid can go easily. And we're thinking about people that live in the desert and out in the open in the villages. And there are hadith that say that it's good to pray the fajr not right at the beginning of the time, but slightly delayed. We're not saying delayed until after sunrise. No way, don't tell me that, what's this guy saying? I'm saying slightly delayed from the beginning of the time. And therefore, in masajid like these, in Darul Ummah, in other masajid, we pray not right at the beginning of the time, but slightly delayed. To practice upon those hadith as well. Khalas, inshallah, tabarak wa ta'ala. 182 will say to you, 181 is, the difference between the two, as in a subh al-sadiq and a subh al-kadhib, the true and false dawn, as well as the difference between the disappearance of the red and white twilight of the sun is said to be 3 degrees. Normally 12 minutes. So the difference between subh al-kadhib or false dawn and true dawn is about 12 minutes. So it's better to wait for those 12 minutes and to make sure that the subh al-sadiq has come in and you pray at that time. However, other factors could affect the time difference, such as location and latitude. Also, with respect to modern tables of prayer timing, the 18-degree time for fajr is more precautionary and should therefore be used, especially for fasting. So our Shaykh here is suggesting to you that you should use the 18-degree. What does 18-degree mean? And what does 12-degree mean? What it means is, when the sun appears on the horizon, it's a straight line, right? The horizon is like a straight line. If you go to the seaside or an open land, you can see that the horizon is like a straight line. When I'm talking about 18 degrees or 12 degrees, I am talking about the sun being 12 degrees underneath that line, or 18 degrees underneath that line. Degrees, you know that a circle is 360 degrees. Half is 180 degrees. Quarter of it is 90 degrees. So what it's saying to you is that the 18 degree is more safe for you to use, because that gives you more space or more time for you to pray your fajr, or for the time to be accurate. The 12-degree opinion is also there, and there are hadith that say 17 and 15. But he's saying 18 degree because it gives you the largest amount of time before the sun actually comes up. He's saying use that one, that's precautionary. But now, there's a bit of discussion here. We live in the UK and our nights are very, very short. Why do we go with the 12 degrees? And why do we follow, say for example, always follow Islam Channel's timings, or the general timings that are given out to us, which is basically a bit later? Because we need to understand that the nights are very, very short. And to put people into difficulty, especially when it comes to Ramadan, summer, fasting, there's a lot of, even though it's an hour's difference or an hour and a half's difference, it can have a huge impact on a person's life by delaying, by bringing that suhoor time earlier, or that fajr time earlier, by saying that we're going to go for 18-degree precautionary. Now, precautionary is good. It is demanded of us to be in precaution. Now, remember when we spoke about khuf and wiping over leather socks, and we said to you that precaution should be taken because salah is a byproduct of your khuf, of how you wipe on it. It renders your salah correct or incorrect. And we said precaution should be taken, but we need to understand, when we're talking about precaution in khuf, the damage of it, or how much damage you can cause by being precautious, is not as severe as being precautious in song. Am I making sense? When I say to you, stop eating at 1:30, and the other option is stop eating at 3:15, I've taken away 1 hour and 45 minutes. The effect of that 1 hour and 45 minutes is very, very severe. And the difficulty that you can bring upon a person or a whole nation by saying that only go for the 18 degree is quite severe. What I'm trying to say to you generally, even though yes, we go for precaution, when that precaution is coincided or comes hand in hand or results in extreme difficulty, we need to think which one to give more precedence. Is precaution more important, or is people's lives not being completely difficult more important? And therefore the fuqaha and the jurists which have allowed for you to go for the 12 degree have thought about that, and they said, you know what, it's going to be very, and of course it's also allowed, even though 18 degrees precautious, 12 degrees also fine, and therefore we go for that. So in the book he says 18 degrees precautious. Now if someone is doing 18 degree or stopping eating or drinking at 18 degrees, right, and following that opinion, there is no right for you to think, what are they doing? In fact, they're doing something safer, and they're probably going to be recipients of more thawab because they're keeping the fast, or they're bearing more difficulty. They are going through a greater juhud and mujahada for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be on the safer side. And that's something, inshallah, in the sight of Allah should be beautiful. That when someone is struggling, وَجَاهِدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جَاهِدٍ, struggling in the path of Allah, as long as it's not haram, something halal, something allowed, then that's a beautiful thing. Inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward them and all of us for that. Inshallah, we'll carry on with this properly once again with prayer time from the next lesson, and bi'idhnillah go into the fara'id, mustahabbat and everything about salah bi'idhnillah tabarak wa ta'ala. Are there any questions? No questions? Okay. Jazakumullah khairan, subhanakallahumma ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.